Greetings to everybody. Welcome. We are reading from Talks on the Bhagavad Gita by Vinobha Bhave. And we are on the chapter of Saguna and Nirguna Bhakti. That is, worshipping with form and attributes and worshipping formless and without attributes. So I was trying to understand this concept and was studying other books to get the essence of what Saguna means, what Nirguna means. And the truth of all the Vedas and the Upanishads about this concept of Saguna and Nirguna is the result of either Saguna with form or Nirguna without form. The worship should lead the being to a state of true devotion. If Saguna worship is not leading you to true devotion and making you just be attached to the form, then it is not the right way. So, the goal of either worship with attributes or without attributes, with the form or without form, should lead the inner state of the being to a true devotion. So, we have to remember that concept. Otherwise, a lot of times, temple worships became very rigid forms because they didn't have the goal in the view. That is why Babaji Maharaj, for us, the first statement is fix your goal. What is your goal? Rest of it all means. The means can be anything. Goal should be fixed. So in this Saguna worship, you worship of the divine with qualities, names, forms, deities, images, symbols, so many things. And for ordinary human beings, it helps the mind to concentrate, since abstract meditation can be difficult. In heartfulness, this problem is solved because even though we meditate on the abstract that the divine light is present, because of the yogic transmission, the pranahuti, the mind is able to concentrate without any form. You see how beautifully Babaji Maharaj has solved our problem. In the Saguna, about the Saguna worship, the Bhagavad Gita states that worshippers of this personal God find that the path is easier because the human mind can easily hold on to a form and it can hold on to a relationship. So, Lord Krishna says it is easy for some people. And in one of the Upanishads describes that divine is in so many forms, such as Shiva, and it's pervading all beings. Again, it's pointing to this aspect of worshipping with form. Regarding worshipping without the form, contemplation of that absolute without qualities beyond name and form. We are going to the origin. We are not stuck at the form level. But it is difficult for most seekers, but it leads directly to the realization of that ultimate Brahman. Here Babaji Maharaj has helped us with Pranahuti. And one of the Upanishads states that which is invisible, without origin, without form, beyond attributes, and that is the ultimate Brahman. And the Kathopanishad, I believe, says that of the imperishable, unseen, eternal, and that Brahman is what the wise realize as the self. So both are valid. Saguna is the first step, a doorway, that is worshipping with form. Nirguna is the culmination. For us in heartfulness, we begin with Nirguna, which is no form, just with the divine light. We actually move to Saguna in some level where your devotion is somewhat established, you take the form of the master whose consciousness is the ultimate Brahman itself, and then you even transcend that form of the master where this attachment is refined, there is no attachment, but yet you hold on to his consciousness, because in the finer regions, to traverse in this vast ocean, you need one light that you can look at. That is the Guru's consciousness. So we go from Nirguna to Saguna to Nirguna to beyond. So this is the beauty of the heartfulness method. And to arrive at this state of devotion is why this worship of Saguna and Nirguna. So in the Upanishads and the Vedas, what is the description given for real devotion? Funny thing was, they say that you see him in all. Like in Isha Upanishad says, he who sees all beings in the self and the self in all the beings, he never turns away from it. And that devotion is not just worshipping, state of devotion is not worshipping, but perceiving him everywhere, divinity everywhere. And how did Babaji Maharaj and our masters solve this problem for us? Simple statement. We don't need to remember Isha Upanishad. They said, love him who loves all, love all whom he love all, hate none. The essence of the Isha Upanishad is these beautiful, simple statements of our great masters who simplified the path for us. And in the Bhagavad Gita, devotion is described as love beyond desire. Because Lord Krishna says, whoever offers me with devotion, patram, palam, pushpam, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or even water, I accept it because it's offered with love. The essence is love, not the offering itself. So this concept is very much fundamental for heartfulness practice. The essence is love, not the offering itself. It doesn't matter whether you clean the toilets, cook in the kitchen, or sit down and teach somebody or give a sitting. It is all expression of our deep love and gratitude to the guide who is taking us forward. Whatever service we do according to our capacity. We cannot do everything. We cannot all be at the top sitting next to the master. It doesn't matter. And that is where in the Bhagavad Gita the concept of Swadharma came. Swadharma is what your duty you do. And even devotion is described as, we talked about this in the last class, inner purity and faith. In one of the Upanishads it says that the self cannot be attained by the weak people. It cannot be attained by careless living. It cannot be attained without devotion or concentration or meditation. But it is attained by the one whom he chooses. So to whom he chooses, the self reveals itself. And this Babuji Maharaj said, we can do everything, but unless he wants it, it doesn't happen. When will he want it? That your state is so attractive, the master is running towards. And that's why Kabir Das ji also said, what is the good if I am worshipping my Ram? My sadhana is not complete until my Ram runs towards me. So the essence is Saguna, that means worshipping with form helps our focus, and it gives us the basic footsteps, fundamental beginning steps to build a relationship with the divine. And then that Nirguna, that is formless meditation, leads us to the highest truth, realization of the ultimate. And in between, real devotion is the goal. And that real devotion is the essence of a pure heart, purity of heart, the essence of a surrendered heart, and the essence of remembrance, constant remembrance, and the essence of seeing Him in every being. So in Saguna, you worship the divine as the mother, father, friend, beloved. And in this formless worship, you realize that as your own self. And both belong to the same bird. They're birds with two wings, as Master says. So, this is how Vinobha Bhavaji is also guiding us in this concept of Saguna and Nirguna Bhakti. So, he says without Nirguna, Saguna is defective. That means without having the essence of the absolute, without formless, begin just to continue as with form is a defective. I mentioned easiness and security as two plus points of worshipping with Saguna form. I can mention a few plus points of formless worship also, Nirguna. In formless worship, one remains within limits. To take an example, we establish institutions to undertake various kinds of service. Initially, an individual establishes an institution. He is its main pillar. Everything revolves around him. But as the institution grows, it should not remain dependent on a single individual. This is how Daji has led all of us from the beginning of his successorship. Everything revolves around him, but as the institution grows, it should not remain dependent on a single individual. It should then be guided by principles. And this was the message of Babuji Maharaj communicating, where now Kamlesh will establish this in the earth plane. And that is why our physical interaction with the Master is now less. Now we are becoming like him, imbibing his principles, imbibing the essence of the teachings of the Master, and each of us, the truth that the Master has claimed that I make masters, I do not make disciples, I do not create disciples. That is happening to every one of us. So, this is the concept he's talking here. I want to read it again. I was just very touched when I read this part. To take an example, we establish institutions to undertake various kinds of service. Initially, an individual establishes an institution, a master establishes an institution. He is its main pillar. Everything revolves around him. But as the institution grows, it should not remain dependent on a single individual. It should then be guided by principles. Otherwise, decline is bound to set in soon after the departure of that individual. That is why revered Daji, with brilliant vision, tried to wean us away from this attachment towards the master. To take my favorite illustration, one cannot continue spinning when the belt of the spinning wheel snaps, nor can then one wind up the yarn already spun. This is what happens to the institution when it loses the key person. It is, as it were, becomes orphaned. This would not happen if the institution advances from devotedness to an individual to devotion to principle. This is what Daji has established now. Saguna needs help from Nirguna. Worshipping in the form needs help from formless worship. One must eventually learn to free oneself from attachment to and preoccupation with individuals and outer forms. We have to let go of the attachment. That is why Lalaji Maharaj has given that technique. All my senses are in a state of balance. They have arrived at their original character. All the feelings are in silence. And he states that when you practice this technique of feelings are in silence, even the undue attachment towards the Guru drops. And this is what they are stating here. Because that becomes a hindrance then. Undue attachment towards the Guru himself becomes a hindrance. He himself becomes a hindrance. At that point, that's when they slap you. Then you wonder, why is Master treating me like this? Because they're pushing you inward dependence. So, form meditation, Saguna, needs help from Nirguna, formless. One must eventually learn to free oneself from attachment to and preoccupation with individuals and outer forms. The Ganga, the Ganges river, emerges from the Himalayas, from the locks of Lord Shiva, but she does not linger there. So you are connected to the master, but you don't linger there. You move to the earth to serve others. That is the goal of a sincere seeker. The Ganga emerges from the Himalayas, from the locks of Lord Shiva, but she does not linger there. Leaving that support behind, she flows through the hills and the forests to the plains and thus benefits the people. In the same way, an institution should be ready to adopt principles as its mainstay in the eventuality of losing the support of the key individual. While constructing an arch, support is given to it, but the support has to be withdrawn later. If the arch remains firmly in place after the support is removed, the support can be said to have done its work. Saguna is indeed the source of inspiration, but the ultimate culmination must be in Nirguna, in commitment to principles. Self knowledge must ultimately emerge from the womb of devotion. The plant of bhakti must blossom into the flower of self knowledge. What a beautiful passage. I mean, how they have the condition, these great people. They have the condition and they're guiding us. And this should be our guiding light for all of us. Some of us who still complain, oh, I didn't get to see Master, I am not with him, everybody else is with him. That is all meaningless. What is meaningful is, have you arrived at that true state of devotion? And like the Ganga, have you left the source? And are you able to serve where you are flowing? Lord Buddha had realized this. He therefore prescribed threefold surrender. Initially, one may be loyal to an individual, but that loyalty should in due course grow into commitment to principles. If this is not immediately possible, it should at least develop in a commitment to the Sangha, the community of like minded people. Respect for one individual should be replaced by respect for a group of individuals. Love all whom he loves. If there is no love and commitment for the Sangha, there would be dissensions and conflicts within it. So, running away from the satsang is not the solution if some people hate you. In every satsang, there are people that don't like you, that criticize you, that hate you. But everybody is in the process, they're at that level. Where are you? We should continue to be there, and then our stamina, our capacity increases to withstand the criticism, withstand the animosity of the other, withstand the ignorance of the other people. Because Lalaji Maharaj in his Whispers Volume 4, he states, wrongdoing itself is a burden on the person. Why do you want to criticize them? Because they're already suffering. So why do you want to add, oh, this person is like this, that person is like this? Let go. Loyalty to an individual should thus advance to commitment to the community of the like minded, and from that to the commitment to the principles. I take refuge in Buddha, I take refuge in Sangha, I take refuge in Dharma. This is what Lord Buddha said. This is the threefold surrender prescribed in Buddhism. Love for an individual or for a group is shaky. There must eventually be commitment to principles. Then only the institution will be beneficial to the society. Even though the initial source of inspiration is Saguna with the form, the Saguna must ultimately reach fruition in Nirguna, formless. So that comes to the principles also. Saguna becomes defective in the absence of Nirguna. Nirguna keeps Saguna balanced and within bounds, and the latter must be thankful for it. There is image worship in some form or the other in all the religions, including Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity. Although it is not considered the highest form of worship, it has been accepted and respected. As long as it remains within the bounds set by Nirguna, it remains free from defects. This is where Hinduism fell. All our people, they're all good people, but they're so attached to the form worship, they have forgotten the goal of the Saguna and Nirguna, which I said in the beginning of this. Is the goal is to become devoted, to move from form to formless to beyond, with the help of a set of an institution, a path given, a principle given, and adopt it and become. Love him who loves all, love all whom he loves, love all, hate none. All these are states of beings. That is the goal. Love is the goal. That is why Babaji keeps on talking about this vibration of love in whispers. So, as long as it remains within the bounds, the form worship set by Nirguna, it remains free from defects. As soon as it crosses these bounds, defects appear in it. This has happened in all the religions. Saguna therein has degenerated in the absence of restraint from Nirguna. Sacrifice was prevalent in yajnas and the other rites in ancient times. And even today, animals are sacrificed to goddess Kali. It is a travesty of image worship. It means the image worship has crossed the bounds and has gone astray. This risk is averted if Saguna, worshipping the form, is restrained by firm commitment to Nirguna. And so, how do you arrive at this Nirguna worship? Meditation. So, that is why the brilliance of the great masters of the Heartfulness Institute, they established a method. And you have knowledge or no knowledge, you are educated or not educated, you are rich or poor. Simply by practicing it, you arrive at these states naturally and you are moving closer to the goal depending on your dedication to the practice. Complementarily, between Saguna and Nirguna, examples from the Ramayana. Saguna is secure and easy, but it needs Nirguna, formless worship. Worshipping with form should in fact grow and eventually blossom into Nirguna, into devotion to principles. Nirguna and Saguna are not opposed to each other. In fact, they are complementary. One must advance from Saguna to Nirguna, and Nirguna also needs the warmth of Saguna to remove subtle impurities from the mind. Thus, they enrich and gain lustre from each other. So, this is the point where we have to understand why is that we need the master until the end. Like your mother, however old they are, you want them to live as long as somebody else is taking care of them and you are not taking care of them. Because physically we are not able to. But still, you always miss your mother. Same thing with the master. Even though you move from the worship of the form to the formless and to the absolute, this connection with the living guide whom you are connected to, that is how Guru Sishya, Guru and disciple relationship comes in. That subtle bond is never broken. Whether mother is alive or not, your bond with your mother is never broken. Whether you worship the master in the physical form or in the absolute form, your bond with him is never broken. But it has to be a living guru that you have met and connected and established an initiation with him. I cannot establish an initiation with Lord Rama or Lord Krishna or Lord Hanuman, Buddha, Jesus. I don't know them. So in this lifetime, so that is why the famous Shankaracharya statement, three things, that it is great blessing that you are born on the earth as a human being. And it is a great blessing that you have met a master and you have established a goal. To meet a master in your lifetime is a deep blessing, and imagine all of us, and to meet the right master. So, both these types of devotion are beautifully depicted in Ramayana. We find them first in the Ayodhya Khanda, the second chapter, and they have been described extensively throughout the rest of Ramayana. Bharat, Rama's brother, is an example of Nirguna devotee, formless worship. He was able to worship the master without being physically present with him. And Lakshman, another brother, is an example of Saguna devotee. Lakshman was always with the master. The nature of Saguna Bhakti and that of Nirguna Bhakti will be clear from their examples. But eventually, if you look at the history, it was Bharata who was praised for his devotion by Babaji Maharaj. That means his condition was better. When Rama set out for the forest, he was not ready to take Lakshmana with him. He felt that there is no ground for taking him along. He told him, I am going to the forest at the behest of our father. You should stay at home. If you accompany me, our parents would be more disconsolate. Serve them and the people. If you are with them, I shall be free from any worries. Be my representative here. Do not be worried about me. Going to the forest is not a matter of misfortune. In fact, I would thereby have the opportunity to teach, to visit the ashrams of the sages. Rama thus tried to dissuade Lakshman from his resolve, but Lakshman cut short all the arguments in one stroke. Tulasidas has pictured this incident vividly. Lakshmana says, You are explaining to me the path of duty described by the scriptures. I should certainly follow it, but I would not be able to bear the burden of princely duties. I am not competent to be your representative. I am just a child. That is the relationship. I am just a child. Can a swan lift up the mountains? O Rama, I have been nourished on your love. Please tell about princely duties to somebody else. I am only a child. Thus he put a stop to the discussion. Just as fish cannot live outside water, Lakshmana could not live without Rama. With his whole being, he lived for Rama. His joy lay in serving Rama, in keeping vigil at night when Rama slept. If the eye is attacked, the arm immediately rushes to receive the blow. Lakshman was such a protective arm for Lord Rama. Tulsidas has given a striking simile. A flag flutters proudly and lustily cheered, but who cares for the flagstaff? Lakshman was like the flagstaff. It was because of his solid, unstinted support that the flag of Rama's glory has been fluttering high in the world. He never faltered, never bent. The world sees the flag and adores it, but the value of the staff is hardly reckoned. A spire attracts the attention of the people, but the foundation catches no eye. The banner of Lord Rama's glory is still fluttering, but remains unremembered, unsung. For 14 years he stood upright and strong. He stayed in the background and spread Rama's glory. Rama entrusted many difficult, delicate, and unpleasant tasks to him. It was Lakshman who was asked to take Sita to the forest and leave her there. Poor Lakshman obeyed that command too. He had virtually become Rama's eyes, his hands, his mind. He had merged himself into Rama, just as a river merges in the sea. He had become Rama's shadow. Lakshmana's bhakti was Saguna. So the question we need to ask here is are our people who are worshipping in the farms, in the temples, are they at that state of being of Lakshmana? And yet, Babaji Maharaj praised Bharata, who had that formless worship. So, sometimes this Saguna worship, being close to the Master, blinds our eye, and possibility of the true devotion developing is there. That is why the Masters encourage you to send you away. Bharat, on the other hand, was a Nirguna devotee. Tulasidas has beautifully sketched his character too. When Rama left for the forest, Bharata was out of Ayodhya. When he returned, Dasharath, their father, has already died. Bharata was asked by Vashishta, the preceptor of the royal family, to take up the reins of the kingdom. But Bharat insisted on meeting Rama at the earliest. He was impatient to see Rama, but busied himself in making necessary arrangements for the kingdom. He did not consider the throne as his own, and felt that kingdom rightfully belonged to Rama, and he must look after it as Rama's representative. Like Lakshman, he could not just abandon everything and follow Rama. For him, devotion to Rama meant doing his work. Otherwise, what value could such devotion have? He first made necessary administrative arrangements and only thereafter proceeded to meet Rama. He met Rama and said, "Dear brother, it is your kingdom, you should come." But Rama did not let him complete the sentence and told him to go back and discharge the kingly duties. Bharat hesitated but bowed before that command. Rama's word was law for him. He had left everything to Rama. That was the state of surrender. It was painful to part from his master, but he obeyed. And that is the beauty greatly praised by our Babaji Maharaj about Bharata. So we will stop here and continue. Beautifully written by Vinobha Bhave. We are very grateful that Revered Daji asked us to read this book. Let us all now meditate.